Games People Play, The Psychology of Human Relationships by Eric Berne, MD. Picture a woman we'll call Mrs. White sitting with friends over coffee, sharing what sounds like a familiar complaint. "I'd love to take a dance class, meet new people," she sighs. "But my husband won't let me. He's so controlling." Her friends nod knowingly, each recognizing a version of their own story. For years, this is how she explained her life, with her husband cast as the villain blocking her path to freedom. Then something unexpected happens. Maybe through therapy, or simply the passage of time, her husband changes. He becomes supportive, even encouraging. "Go ahead, sign up for that class," he tells her warmly. "I want you to be happy." The cage door swings open. She's finally free. So Mrs. White enrolls in the dance class. She walks to the studio, her heart racing with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. But as she reaches the edge of the dance floor, something stops her cold. Terror washes over her like a wave. She can't move forward. She turns around and rushes home, completely defeated. And in that crushing moment, an uncomfortable truth reveals itself. Her husband was never really her jailer. He was her shield, protecting her from a fear she couldn't face. All those years of complaints weren't cries for freedom at all. They were carefully constructed walls to keep that freedom at bay. This isn't just one woman's sad story. It's a window into a hidden world, operating just beneath the surface of our everyday lives, filled with unspoken rules, hidden motives, and predictable endings. A world of games. Today we're diving into one of the most eye-opening psychology books of the 20th century, Games People Play, by Dr. Eric Berne. Published in 1964, this book has sold over 5 million copies because it did something revolutionary. It gave us words for the invisible scripts running our relationships. Dr. Berne, a brilliant psychiatrist with a gift for observation, pulled back the curtain on human interaction, showing us that so much of what we do isn't spontaneous at all. It's highly structured, mostly unconscious, and totally predictable. By the time we're done, you'll have a map to this hidden world. You'll understand why we play these games, how to spot them in your own life, and most importantly, how to find the freedom waiting beyond them. This isn't just about understanding other people. It's about understanding the deepest parts of yourself. It's about learning to stop playing games and start actually living. To understand the world of games, we need to start with a basic human need, one as powerful as hunger or thirst. Dr. Berne calls it stimulus hunger. Think about a newborn baby. Studies show that infants deprived of physical touch and handling for extended periods can literally fade away. It's as though their life force just dims. Berne puts it beautifully and bluntly. If you are not stroked, your spinal cord will shrivel up. He doesn't mean this literally, of course. It's a powerful metaphor. A stroke is his term for any act of recognition. For a baby, that's a literal touch, a hug, a gentle pat. As we grow up, we learn to accept more symbolic strokes. A nod from a friend, a good morning from a coworker, a compliment on our outfit. These are all strokes, the basic currency of human interaction. An exchange of strokes is called a transaction. These transactions prove we exist, that we matter to someone. Without them, we wither. So we all have this deep biological craving for strokes, for recognition. But this leads to another equally pressing problem: structure hunger. What do you do after you say hello? For most people, long silences in social situations feel unbearable. We need to fill the time, to structure our days. According to Berne, the entire project of social life is about helping each other solve this problem. He says we structure our time in a few key ways, each carrying a bit more risk but also offering more reward. The simplest forms are rituals and pastimes. A ritual is a predictable exchange, like the classic American greeting, "Hi, how are you?" "Fine, you." We're not really sharing information. We're exchanging strokes in a safe, approved way. Pastimes are slightly more complex. They're the chit-chat at parties. People gather in corners to discuss cars, compare outfits, or talk about their kids. These pastimes let us exchange strokes while our unconscious minds scan the room, sizing people up, looking for candidates for deeper, more engaging connections. And that's where things get interesting. When the stakes get higher, we often move from the safety of pastimes into the dramatic world of games. To understand what a game is, we first need to peek inside our own minds. Berne gave us a beautifully simple model for this. He noticed that people can shift their entire presence in an instant. Their posture, voice, word choice, and feelings all change together. He concluded that we each operate from 3 distinct ego states. These aren't abstract concepts, they're psychological realities. First, there's the parent ego state. This is you when you're thinking, feeling, and behaving just like your own parents did. It's a recording of all the rules, judgments, and nurturing behaviors you absorbed as a child. When you hear a voice saying, "You should always finish your vegetables," or "Don't talk to strangers," that's your parent. Second, there's the adult ego state. This is your rational, logical, data-processing self. The adult is like a computer, assessing reality, calculating probabilities, and making objective decisions. When you're calmly planning your budget or navigating traffic, you're in your adult. Third, there's the child ego state. This is a replay of your past, where your feelings, impulses, and childhood experiences live. Your creativity, your joy, your fears, and your tantrums all come from the child. When you feel a sudden burst of excitement or a wave of sulky frustration, that's your child emerging. At any moment, one of these 3 states is driving. Communication flows smoothly when our transactions line up. For example, if your adult asks, "What time is it?" and my adult answers, "It's 3 o'clock." The lines of communication are parallel and can continue indefinitely. If your frightened child asks for comfort, "I'm scared," and my nurturing parent provides it, "Don't worry, everything's okay," that's also complementary. But trouble starts when transactions get crossed. This, Berne says, is the root of most social difficulties. Imagine a husband asks his wife a simple, factual question from his adult, "Do you know where my cufflinks are?" He's expecting an adult response, like, "They're on the dresser." Instead, his wife replies from her child, addressing his parent, "You always blame me for everything." Suddenly, the conversation about cufflinks is over. The lines have crossed. Now they're in an entirely different conversation, rooted in past hurts and old patterns. To continue, they either have to return to adult, or one has to shift roles to match the other, perhaps with him becoming a scolding parent in response to her defensive child. This brings us to the secret ingredient of every game, the ulterior transaction. This is when we're doing 2 things at once. On the surface level, we're saying something that sounds perfectly reasonable, but underneath, we're sending a hidden message. Berne gives a classic example of a salesman talking to a customer. Socially, at the adult-to-adult level, he says, "This model is better, but you probably can't afford it." The customer's adult might respond, "You're right on both counts." But the salesman is skilled. His psychological message targets her child directly, saying, "I bet you're not good enough to have this." And her child responds, bypassing her adult completely, "I'll show you, I'll take it." That hidden, psychological hook is the gimmick. It's the trap. And a series of these ulterior transactions, moving toward a predictable, dramatic payoff, is what Berne defines as a game. Every game, he says, is fundamentally dishonest, and its outcome reinforces an old, unconscious belief we carry about ourselves, others, or the world. This belief is what Berne calls our existential position. These positions are decided in early childhood, long before we have the wisdom to make such profound choices, and they're usually simple statements like, "I'm no good," "Other people can't be trusted," "People always let me down," or "I'm never at fault." The rest of our lives, we unconsciously seek situations and people that let us play games proving our position is correct. Now let's open Dr. Berne's catalog and explore some of the most common games people play. We'll start with the life games. the big ones that can shape someone's entire destiny. Perhaps the most famous is alcoholic. Berne makes a startling claim. In game analysis, there's no such thing as an alcoholic, only a central role in a game called alcoholic. The drinking is just one move in a complex, five-person social drama. The main player is the alcoholic. The key supporting role is the persecutor, often the spouse, who scolds and criticizes. Then there's the rescuer, maybe a doctor or friend from Alcoholics Anonymous who tries to save him. Fourth is the patsy, often the mother, who secretly slips him money and makes excuses, enabling the behavior. And finally, there's the connection, the bartender who supplies the liquor and understands the culture. The game analyst asks, what's the real payoff? It's not the pleasure of drinking. That's just incidental. The true dramatic climax is the hangover. Not the physical pain, but the psychological torment. The payoff is the morning after, when the alcoholic gets to indulge in intense self-punishment, calling himself every terrible name. The game creates a situation where his child can be viciously scolded, not just by his internal parent, but by all the parental figures around him. His existential position is something like, everybody wants to deprive me, and the game's ultimate aim is self-punishment. Another powerful life game is Now I've Got You, You Son of a Bitch, which Berne abbreviates as NIGYSOB. This is a game of righteous rage. The player unconsciously seeks situations where someone will make a small mistake, giving them permission to unleash wildly disproportionate fury. Berne tells the story of a man who hired a plumber for a $400 job. They agreed on the price with no extras. When the bill arrived, the plumber had added a small $4 charge for an unexpected valve. Objectively, this is minor. But for this man, it was the moment he'd been waiting for. He became enraged, not just about the $4, but about the plumber's integrity, ethics, his entire character. He was secretly delighted by the plumber's mistake because it gave him a socially acceptable reason to unleash the pent-up anger he carried everywhere. The game wasn't about the money, it was about getting justification to feel righteous fury. His position, people can't be trusted. Then there's the tragic game of Kick Me. The player's entire manner seems to wear a sign saying, quote, please don't kick me, which, of course, is an almost irresistible invitation to do exactly that. They provoke rejection from bosses, friends, and partners, and when the inevitable kick comes, they cry out, why does this always happen to me? The payoff is confirmation of their depressive position, that they're unworthy and deserve to be kicked. These games spill into the complex world of marital games. The story of Mrs. White and her fear of dancing perfectly illustrates If It Weren't For You, or IWFY. The game provides a double advantage. First, it lets the player avoid a situation they're secretly afraid of, the external advantage. Second, it gives them a justifiable reason to complain and feel resentful, the internal advantage. A close relative is courtroom. A husband and wife bring their dispute to a third party, a therapist, friend, or even their children. The husband begins, let me tell you what she did yesterday. She responds, but that's not how it happened, and besides, they're not looking for solutions. They're plaintiff and defendant, seeking a judge to declare one of them right. The aim is reassurance, to quiet the insecure child who believes, I'm always wrong. Then there's the painful game of Frigid Woman. Here, the wife repeatedly rejects her husband's advances, often saying, all you care about is sex. Then, after a period of quiet, she becomes subtly provocative. She might walk through the room half-dressed or flirt with other men at a party. Eventually, her husband is lured into trying again. At the critical moment, she rejects him once more, crying, see, all men are beasts. This typically triggers uproar, a massive argument ending with a slammed door. For both players, often equally afraid of intimacy, the fight itself becomes a substitute for the sexual act. The payoff is vindication for her, and avoidance of feared intimacy for both. Of course, games aren't limited to life partners. They're the main event at most social gatherings. These are the party games. The most common game at any gathering is, why don't you yes but? or YDYB. It was the first game Berne ever identified. It starts with someone presenting a problem. My husband never builds anything right. The others immediately jump in to play rescuer, offering solutions. Why don't you buy him better tools? Yes, but he doesn't know how to use them. Why don't you hire a carpenter? Yes, but that would cost too much. A skilled player can reject every suggestion. The game ends when everyone falls into frustrated silence, having run out of ideas. In that moment, the problem presenter has won. The point was never to find a solution. It was to reject all solutions. At the social level, it looks like an adult seeking help, but psychologically, it's a child proving that no parent can tell them what to do. The child's aim is to be reassured that they can never be successfully dominated. Another party favorite is Schlemiel. The Schlemiel is the clumsy guest always spilling things, breaking things, making messes. After each incident, he says, "I'm so sorry." The host feels obligated to be polite and offer forgiveness. It's okay, don't worry about it. The Schlemiel's destructive pleasure is just a bonus. The real payoff, the central aim, is obtaining that forgiveness. It's a game of aggression, followed by absolution. And then there's Blemish, played by people who feel uncomfortable with someone new until they've found their flaw. They're playing from the depressive child position of "I am no good," which they project into the parental position of "they are no good." Their mission is to find evidence, a fashion misstep, a financial weakness, a character flaw, that proves their thesis and lets them feel secure in their judgment. It's easy for all this to feel a bit grim. Are all our interactions just dishonest games reinforcing childhood pain? Not at all. Berne carefully points out that there are also good games. A good game is one where the positive social contribution outweighs the ulterior motive. One example is Cavalier. This is played by someone who delights in giving creative, artistic, thoughtful compliments. His goal isn't seduction, but the sheer joy of exhibiting his craft and making others feel appreciated. Both parties enjoy the exchange, she for the genuine appreciation, and he for the appreciation of his artistry. Another is happy to help. These are genuinely helpful people, even if they have an ulterior motive like seeking prestige or doing penance. As Berne points out, if someone's going to compete, it's far better for society if they compete in generosity than cruelty. But even good games are still games, still substitutes for the real prize. Berne's ultimate message isn't that we should learn to play better games, but that we should strive to stop playing them altogether. The goal is to achieve what he calls autonomy. Autonomy, for Berne, is the recovery of three precious childlike capacities we're all born with, but tend to lose along the way. The first is awareness. This is the ability to see and hear the world as it actually is, not as we were taught to see and hear it. He tells a beautiful story of a little boy watching birds with delight. His father comes along, wanting to share the experience. "That's a jay," he says, "and that's a sparrow." The moment the boy starts labeling, he can no longer truly see the birds or hear their songs. He's seeing them through his father's filter. Awareness is reclaiming that direct, unfiltered perception of the world. It's living in the here and now. The second capacity is spontaneity. This is the freedom to choose from the full range of your feelings and behaviors, parent, adult, and child, and express them appropriately. It's liberation from the compulsion to act out the same old scripts and feel the same old feelings you were taught to have. And the final, most rewarding capacity is intimacy. For Berne, intimacy isn't just physical. It's a game-free, spontaneous, and genuine connection with another person. It's the rare and beautiful moment when two people can be together without ulterior motives, without playing roles, simply as themselves. It's the only truly satisfying answer to stimulus hunger, recognition hunger, and structure hunger. This is the ultimate promise of games people play. It gives us a map of the prisons we build for ourselves, not so we can decorate them more comfortably, but so we can finally see the door, turn the key, and walk out into the open air of a more authentic and connected life. Reading games people play for the first time is like putting on X-ray glasses. Suddenly, the invisible structures running your life become startlingly clear. You see the games in your family, in your friendships, at work, and most uncomfortably, within yourself. What makes this book, written over half a century ago, so enduringly powerful? I believe it's because Eric Berne gave us more than just theory. He gave us vocabulary. Words like stroke, parent, adult, child, and the game names themselves, kick me, niggy subby, yes but, are so perfectly descriptive they stick in your mind. They give you a handle on complex emotional dynamics that were previously vague and confusing. To name something is to begin having power over it. The book's central message is one of profound and sometimes challenging personal responsibility. It's easy to play, if it weren't for you, blaming our parents, partners, or circumstances for our unhappiness. But Berne gently shows us we're not passive victims. We're active participants, choosing our fellow players and seeking out the payoffs that confirm our deepest, often negative, beliefs about ourselves. This can be hard to swallow, but it's also incredibly empowering. If we're the ones choosing to play the game, we're also the ones who can choose to stop. The path Berne lays out toward autonomy isn't about becoming perfect or hyper-rational. It's about integration. It's about honoring the wisdom of the parent, utilizing the power of the adult, and liberating the joy and creativity of the child. It's about becoming whole. So how can you start applying these ideas in your own life right now? Here are 3 simple actions you can take. First, start listening differently. In your next conversation, don't worry about games yet. Just try identifying the ego states. Listen to the speaker's tone, their words, their posture. Are they speaking from the critical or nurturing parent, the logical adult, or the emotional child? And which part of you are they speaking to? This simple act of observation is the first step toward awareness. Second, try identifying just one of your recurring games. Is there a negative pattern showing up again and again in your life? A fight you keep having? A frustrating situation you always seem to land in? Look through the games we talked about today. Does "why don't you, yes but" sound familiar? Or maybe "kick me." You don't need to fix it overnight, just give it a name. Acknowledging the game is the move that begins to change it. Finally, practice a simple, game-free transaction. The next time someone asks you a direct adult question, give them a direct adult answer. The next time you feel genuine, spontaneous joy from your child, share it, without looking for a specific reaction. These small moments of game-free living are where true intimacy begins to grow. Games People Play isn't a book of easy answers, it's a mirror. It shows us the complex, often contradictory, and deeply human ways we connect with one another. It reveals that the key to changing our lives isn't changing others, but understanding and changing the roles we choose to play. The ultimate goal is freedom. The freedom to put down the script, walk off the stage, and simply be real with the people who matter most. That was a journey through Games People Play by Eric Berne. We've touched on the core ideas today, but I have to be honest. A summary is like looking at a travel brochure. The real adventure happens when you take the trip yourself. The book is filled with nuances, stories, and moments of insight that can't be fully captured here. It's in those quiet moments, when a particular game hits you with a jolt of recognition, that real change happens. This overview is designed to help you see if this is a journey worth taking. If anything we've discussed has sparked your curiosity, I encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning. It's an experience that can fundamentally shift how you see yourself and the world. Also, if you found this summary valuable and want to explore more life-changing books, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next deep dive. Let's keep learning and growing together.